Imagine an economy where the most powerful decisions aren't made in parliaments, boardrooms, or central banks, but around dining tables where billion-dollar deals are shaped by inherited influence and whispered agreements between generations of the same families. Most people assume Asia's economic rise is powered by globalization, technology, and a massive labor force. But what if the real architects are a network of family dynasties quietly steering entire nations? Today we uncover how these families became so entrenched in the economic DNA of countries across Asia, and why their influence remains almost impossible to break. To understand this hidden system, we need to look back to the region's most chaotic decades, the mid-20th century, when wars, partitions, colonial transitions, and institutional breakdowns left governments desperate for rapid rebuilding. Lacking strong state structures, they turned to the only groups with the resources, connections, and entrepreneurial aggression to rebuild industries: powerful business families. In South Korea, the government partnered with early chaebol families Samsung, Hyundai, LG, granting them loans, protection from foreign competition, and near-monopolistic control of key sectors. In India, the Tata and Birla families filled the industrial vacuum after independence. In Southeast Asia, ethnic Chinese merchant clans leveraged trade networks built during colonial times to dominate emerging economies. These partnerships between vulnerable states and ambitious families seemed mutually beneficial at first, but they created a long-term imbalance. Governments became dependent on families for economic stability, while families developed influence far beyond ordinary corporations. By the 1970s and 1980s, these dynasties had grown into sprawling empires that controlled everything from banks, factories, and shipping lines to media outlets, real estate, hospitals, and retail chains. Their power worked through cause and effect. Government support gave them capital, which allowed expansion, which strengthened their political leverage, which then secured even more privileges. Economies that appeared competitive on the surface were, in reality, arenas where families, not markets, competed with one another. Marriages became strategic alliances. Heirs were groomed from childhood to inherit empires, and loyalty within bloodlines mattered more than transparency or modern governance. The facade of national growth concealed a deeper reality. These families were becoming untouchable. However, absolute power never stays hidden forever. By the late 1990s, cracks appeared. The 1997 Asian financial crisis exposed how deeply indebted many conglomerates were, with one family-owned company propping up another in fragile financial chains. When one collapsed, entire networks fell with it. South Korea saw chaebols crumble and required IMF intervention. In Southeast Asia, fortunes evaporated virtually overnight. In India, liberalization hit traditional family businesses that had thrived under protectionist policies. For the first time, the weaknesses of dynasty-driven economies were undeniable: centralizing power in a handful of families created high-growth engines that were just as capable of sparking catastrophic downturns. And yet, despite the shockwaves, something surprising happened. These dynasties survived. Many even emerged stronger. They modernized, hired Western-educated heirs, restructured their debt, and expanded into new sectors, especially technology and finance. Governments also recognized an uncomfortable truth. Their economies still relied heavily on these families for employment, exports, and capital. As a result, reforms were often watered down, delayed, or implemented only on paper. Restrictions on monopolies softened. Corporate governance rules were bypassed. Antitrust legislation lacked enforcement. Instead of fading, the dynasties adapted, evolved, and resumed their dominance. Today their grip remains staggering. In South Korea, chaebols still account for more than half the national economy. In India, legacy business families dominate sectors from telecom to steel to retail. In Southeast Asia, over 70% of billionaires are part of family conglomerates. In China, princeling families with deep political ties hold immense economic and bureaucratic influence. And across Asia as a whole, more than 75% of major companies are family-owned, a number unmatched by any other region in the world. Governments have tried repeatedly to break dynastic power through inheritance taxes, regulatory reforms, mandatory transparency, and competition laws, but these efforts rarely succeed. Families remain resilient for four key reasons. They control capital, they control labor, they dominate social and political networks, and they can adapt far faster than government institutions. Even when reforms succeed temporarily, Dynasties simply shift their influence to new industries, new financial structures, or new political relationships. The pattern repeats itself again and again. Old industries get dominated by old families, while new industries, especially tech, birth new dynasties determined to pass wealth and influence to the next generation. As Asia positions itself as the center of global economic growth, this raises profound questions about the future. Will the next century belong to open markets, innovation, and institutional strength? Or will it belong to families who wield quiet, intergenerational power beyond the reach of regulation or public accountability? 3 lessons become clear. First, family dynasties are not just economic players. They are architects who shaped the foundations of modern Asian development. Second, concentrating wealth and power in a few hands creates stability until it suddenly creates instability. And third, reforms often fail because dynasties evolve more quickly than the systems meant to regulate them. As Asia's influence rises, so does the importance of understanding these invisible empires that shape everything from jobs and prices to national policy. The question now is whether future economic growth will democratize opportunity or reinforce the power of families who have controlled the game for generations. If you want more deep-dive investigations into hidden power structures, global economics, and the systems shaping the modern world, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because this is only the beginning.